As more and more people are transitioning their lives away from work from home and back into the office, many are deciding to just quit their jobs. Everyone is at a different point, but what I can tell you is that what they are doing is all because they want flexibility in their lives. What if I told you that through a couple of changes, you can create your own flexibility by retiring earlier than you ever thought were possible? Well, it's true. Through the FIRE movement that is growing in popularity, more and more people are getting a taste of this freedom. Today, I want to show you that it's in fact realistic and even give you a few steps to follow to get you started on your journey. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
What is up, and thank you for joining me today on The Financial Mirror, where we continue to improve the one thing that you can control, yourself. If this is your first time joining, thank you, and don't forget to hit the subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform of your choice, please don't forget to share this with all of your friends, family, coworkers. The more and more people that get involved and get all the knowledge that they can around personal finances, the better our communities become. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple, a 5-star review is a great way to show your support. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, the written comments really mean a lot to the algorithms and to ensure that more and more people are finding the same information that you found. Today is a special episode. I say that because a few weeks ago, I did a series on retirement, and let me tell you, it was extremely successful. It was extremely successful in a sense that so many people had so many good questions, so much good feedback around the episodes. I really hope that you didn't miss it, but if you did, head on over to my YouTube, head on over to my Facebook channel, The Financial Mirror, and check it out. A lot of good information out there in that series. I discuss tons of retirement information. It was an episode. It was a whole series that really brought some light to people around retirement, around making sure that they were on track. But all in all, it just really gave people a different way to look at retirement. One of the things that really stood out, and I talked about it at the end of that series, and I decided I wanted to make an episode on it, was FIRE. F-I-R-E. I talked about it in the series, and I wanted to make sure that I made a whole episode on it. I talked about it in the series that it deserved its own episode. It's a lot of information, but I want to show you how it can play into your retirement. If you've been around the financial community at all, there's tons of things out there on FIRE, F-I-R-E, and I think that there is some good information out there. And I don't want to knock all the information that is currently circulating in the area, but what I will say is that it's not all correct. But if you've kept up with what is being discussed in the financial world, you will probably see that FIRE is out there. You've probably heard of it. If you use the Financial Mirror for your information, then now is the time to be informed. If you don't and you use other forms of information for finance information, then you've probably already seen it. But all in all, there's so much to discuss. And when you're thinking about FIRE, and if you're deciding, man, is this something that I want to get into? Is this something I don't really want to get into? What is it? Like all those questions, I'm going to get those answered for you today. Now, like I said before, and I sort of alluded to it, if you have heard of it, this episode is not here just to educate people on it, but to more importantly, give me a chance to discuss some of the common things that I have heard that are absolutely misrepresented. So yes, stick around. You have extra stuff to learn today, even if you've heard of FIRE. There's extra stuff out there that I want to discuss with you, even if you've heard of it. So, what are we going to talk about in this episode? Well, I'm glad you asked. I want to start by breaking down each part. I want to break down what each part of FIRE is. I want to show you what they mean. I want to show you where they're misinterpreted. And more importantly, I want to show you how you can apply them to your life. Next, I want to show you why it's so popular. And it gives me an opportunity to sort of give you ideas on how you can utilize it in your life. It also provides a chance to let me give you some of that knowledge that's out there to see if it's something that you want to join. See if if you want to be a part of the FIRE movement. But all in all, at the end of this, you are going to have the information that you need to really understand FIRE. When people are talking about it, you're going to have the upper hand. You're going to have all the information and how it can be applicable to your life. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this very first part. So the first part up for FIRE, the F and the I. The F and the I stands for financial independence. So to start off, let's just begin with that FI portion, financial independence. And what is it? What is this financial independence? Well, by definition, this is where you have enough passive income, not just any income, but passive income to cover all of your living expenses, right? Every single living expense that you have will be covered by passive income. Now, if anyone defines this any other way, they are not giving you the true understanding of this very first part. It's got to be passive income and it's got to cover all of your expenses. Any other definition is not in line with what financial independence is. If this definition, is convoluted in any way, it kind of loses its impact, honestly. But if this is the definition, financial independence, passive income to cover expenses, what does it mean? What does it all mean? Well, simply put, you've got to generate income without actually doing any work. Sounds crazy. I know, like how am I going to do that? How am I not going to go to work? How am I not going to clock in and still make money? Well, that's the passive part, the passive income part. This income has got to generate money when you're not physically working, and you've got to create enough to cover all of your expenses. Now, that brings me to my first misconception that I want to address. The very first one, when you think about financial independence, there's not a blueprint. There's not this like one size fits all style of achieving financial independence. However, you will find tons of people out there that just want to sell you their plan. They want you to buy their plan. They want you to be a part of their passive income. That's what they're going for. They want you to contribute to whatever plan they're trying to sell, whatever blueprint they're trying to create. They want you to contribute to it. Now, I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying be cautious. I'm not saying that you won't be able to achieve financial independence with some of these blueprints out there. I've looked at some. Some of them are not bad blueprints. What I'm saying is be cautious, because when I literally tell you that there's a handful of them that are good, there's me, your handful, your uncle's handful. There's tons more handfuls that are out there that are bad. So be cautious, be understanding that not every plan works for everyone. Remember that. Remember that. So what is the misconception here? People confuse, and this is truly the misconception that I hear the most. I truly hear this the most. People confuse the idea of financial independence with that plan or what I call the outcome of financial independence. People like to confuse those two things. They confuse being financial independent, like the idea of being financially independent. They confuse that with the plan or that outcome of financial independence. So I what do I mean by this? I know it might not come out exactly the way I'm meaning to let it out. So when you think of why someone would want to be financial independent, those whys are the outcome, right? That's not the idea. Financial independence is having more passive income than expenses. That's financial independence. The misconception is people confuse their why. People want to say, well, financial independence is because I'm financially independent because I can do blank, right? True. Your why could be what made you get there. You may be able to do your why because you're financially independent, but the main focus is your why motivates you. Your why is sort of that reason that you get up and you want to become financially independent. But if you only focus on the why, you may never actually build a solid plan for your how, right? We want to get to being financially independent. We want to get to having a passive income that exceeds our expenses. Now, that means focusing on the how to get to the why. If you only focus on the why, you never may build the how. Becoming financially independent is completely based on the how. Completely. Therefore, when you think about the term becoming financially independent, think about your how. How am I going to do that? What am I going to do so that I achieve my why, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you. Hopefully that sort of gives you an idea, gives you something to think about. And I'm going to give you at the end of this, I'm going to give you a couple hows as examples. But right now, I want you to understand what financial independence is. Because if you understand these two terms, the F and the I and the R and the E, this all makes sense. And you can really decide if this is just some crazy movement or if it's something that you want to join in on. So just remember, being financially independent, very simply, is passive income is greater than expenses. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. So the next part, we want to retire early. That's right. We want to retire early. That's the R and the E. To be honest, this is the why in simplest terms, right? To be honest, this is where so many people get sucked into this whole movement. They really want to retire early. This is the reason so many people want to learn more. They're eager to learn more about FIRE because they're like, holy smokes, I can retire early. But what is it? Well, like I did with the F and the I want to give you a simple definition. The R and the E, the retire early, this is where one no longer needs to work to earn enough money to cover their expenses. That's as simple as it gets right there. You no longer have to work to cover your expenses. So how much money do you need is completely driven by how much your expenses are. So if you want to retire earlier, cut your expenses. That's the easiest way to get it, right? But your how much money you need, how much passive income you need is completely based off your expenses. So if your expenses are $2,000, you need $2,000 of passive income a month to retire early, right? That's what you need. So if you want to retire early, cut your expenses, get those as low as possible, and now all of a sudden you don't need as much passive income to retire. Now, as I stated earlier, this is why people get sucked in. It's so popular because of this. But what do I mean? When you hear people ask, what's your why? What is it? What's your why? This is why people don't want to work any longer. The why is why they don't want to work anymore. The why is why they want to be financially independent and they want to retire early so that they can get to that why. A couple of reasons: they want to spend more time with their family. They want to pursue their other hobbies and passions, right? They want to delete financial stress from their life. And for most, they just want the ability to quit their job and do whatever they want whenever they want, right? It's attractive. It's very attractive, actually. But you can see how this is easy to sell to anyone you talk to. But is it realistic? Is it realistic is probably what you're thinking. You're probably in your head like, yeah, I mean, that all sounds good. Yeah, I'd love to spend more time with my family. Yeah, I'd love to just go play golf every day. Yeah, I really just would love to take that financial stress out of my life, just relieve me from it. But it's not realistic. Well, of course it's realistic. It's extremely realistic. I wouldn't be sitting here even talking about it. Actually, yeah, I probably would be sitting here talking about it because I would be telling you how unrealistic it was, but it is absolutely totally realistic. So I want to give you some ideas on how you can get started. I want to show you how you can achieve financial independence so that you can retire early. You see how those play? You've got to do one before the other. You've got to get your how. You've got to really define that how to be financially independent so that you can achieve your why. That's where that misconception comes in. A lot of times people want to bring those together. They're two totally separate things. You got to get to one. You can't just be like, oh, I'm retiring early without ever hitting the financial independent part. Otherwise, how are you going to live, right? So let me show you how you can get started with FIRE. So we're financially independent. We're retiring early. That's the plan. How do we do it? So if all this sounds like something that would interest you, I want you to know it's possible. I told you that and I mean it. I absolutely mean it. Many people will tell you it isn't, that you're possibly wasting your time. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, that's a waste of time. FIRE is a waste of time. You'll never get there. If you want to be financially independent, you have to be a high income earner. Hear that one a lot. That's probably the one that gets under my skin the most. Oh, you have to make a lot of money to be financially independent. I disagree. I totally disagree. And I'm gonna get on some more of that then. I'll get on my soapbox and I'll let it all out. But that's probably the one that gets under my skin the most. But people are gonna tell you you're wasting your time. It's not possible, right? They're gonna tell you that. But I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. I don't know if y'all have seen The Waterboy. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, if you're listening on a podcast, I'm going to try to describe this, but Bobby Boucher, he mama's always right, blah 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 blah, and then the teacher that looks like Colonel Sanders, he says mama's wrong again, and then Colonel Sanders, he says no, mama's right, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders, and he goes up and tackles him. But anyway, that's how wrong, and that's not how you should treat people that tell you that you're wrong. But you should have that type of energy, that type of motivation to say no, you're wrong. Financial Mirror is right. You're wrong. Maybe that's what I should have put. Maybe I should have put Financial Mirror is right. No, whoever, you're wrong. FIRE is possible. I'm telling you, it's possible. People are doing it, and it's not high income earners only. It's normal incomes that people are achieving financial independence. So the problem is when I show you some of these steps, though, here's the issue, and here's why everyone thinks that it's impossible. I'm going to show you some of the steps that'll get you there, and you may hear them and think, oh, no, that's difficult. Oh, no, that's not for me. That sounds too hard. Oh, no, yeah, that's way outside my comfort zone. And FIRE may not be for you. If that's how you feel about some of the things I'm going to say, FIRE might not be for you. But that doesn't make it unrealistic. Catch that? Just because it's uncomfortable to you, just because it's hard to you, just because it's difficult, that doesn't mean it's unrealistic. And just because you're not willing to take on those feats doesn't mean that the next person isn't, right? Encourage them. If they want to take it on, encourage them to do it. Don't tell them it's unrealistic. It may just be not something that you have a why that's strong enough to make you want to do it. Some people, they have that. They want that. They want that time with their family. They want that time to go and work on other passions and hobbies. They want that. And that why is so strong that they're willing to do these things. But I'm going to show you what it takes in 4 steps. I break it down in 4 steps because I want you to understand that achieving FIRE is 1, realistic, and 2, easily possible if you follow these steps. So the first step that you've got to follow is you've got to figure out which blueprint, your how. You got to figure out the blueprint that you're going to use to help get you there. Some people, they use real estate. Some people, they focus on real estate, and that's what they use as their blueprint to achieve financial independence. One way is house hacking. They buy a home, they rent out the rooms that they're not going to use in the home. The rent from all of these people that are renting pays their mortgage, and they could buy another home, rent out the first one completely, rent out all those rooms, right? And then all of a sudden, people are paying for their home. People that are renting from them are paying for their home. Once they have a few homes, all of a sudden, they can just buy a home. They can buy a home and simply never have to pay another bill because all those rents are going to be paying for all their expenses, right? They'll never have to work. That's one way. Another way people do it with real estate is by rehabbing homes. They'll go into a home that needs a little love, they'll fix them up, and they'll sell them. They'll buy cheap, fix them up for cheaper, that are, for a cheap enough amount that they can still sell it for a profit after they rehab it. And that is another way that people do it if they have a passion for that. Other people, and this is the majority of people, they simply just invest. They would most likely be investing in an index fund, as those have the most history and consistent returns. They would open up a brokerage account or a bridge account, and they would invest in index funds. There are other options, and I'll discuss them next week, but for the brokerage account, they'll simply just invest in it, put as much as they can into it, let it grow at, on average, the S&P 500 has grown at about 10% since the 1920s. So a fairly good history of return. So if they just do that for a decent amount of time, not an extremely long amount of time, but a decent amount of time, and they're putting a lot of money into it, it can grow fairly quickly, right? But those are not the only two blueprints that are out there, but they are the two most common. Most people invest, they just let it grow in an index fund. Others, they will focus on real estate. They'll focus on rehab, house hacking, things of that nature. I don't know which one's going to be best for you. That's for you to decide if this is something you're interested in. But more importantly, looking at which blueprints you want to follow is step one. Step two, you need to figure out how much income you need. It's very simple. If you're doing real estate, this could be how many homes do you need to generate enough income minus expenses to cover all of your personal expenses. If you're investing, this could be how much do you need to invest and grow an account to so that you can draw out roughly 4% to cover your expenses without eating into that wealth generating principle. In the bottom of this episode, I have added a money under 30 calculator link in the description. So you can use that to help you figure out your number. If you don't know, you can then tweak some of the data to see if you want to contribute more or less money to sort of change that retirement age, right? That's sort of what that's going to be used for. But investing is the most commonly used, as it doesn't really take a passion for real estate or any work to do it. You just put your money into it. If you're going to go with real estate, please have a passion for doing it. Don't just do it. You will get burned. It is not that much fun if you don't enjoy it, right? So really enjoy real estate if you're going to go that route. Otherwise, just stick to the investing. Number three, you've got to increase your side hustle money. If you're trying to get out of debt, side hustles are great. If you want to save more money faster for FIRE, side hustles are great. If you want to get a side hustle, stash all that money into your investment account and use that money to get your down payment for real estate if you want to do real estate. But do your side hustles, make the cash, throw the money into a savings account, throw money into, or not into a savings account, to an investment account, and then all of a sudden start saving for things like your real estate down payments, or just keep it in the index fund and let it grow. And just be an investment. Just be an investment that turns into be financially independent. Finally, the last step, you've got to increase your savings to get to your number early. You should be saving it if you're going to do FIRE, you should be saving at least 50%. At least 50% of your income to really move the needle on this, okay? At least 50%. Some people, they get up to 70 or 80% of their income saved. If they really want to expedite the process, they try to get that number as high as possible. But at a minimum, shoot for 50%. How can you do this? As I know you're asking, well, that's a lot of my money going out. How do I do this? Well, you got to lower your expenses. I started with that. I'm ending with that. You've got to lower your expenses. It's as simple as that. You need to really look at your budget and say, do I really need this? Do I really need it? Before you buy something, ask, will I regret buying this? Do I actually need this right now? This is the number one way for you to retire early. Number one way. If you will cut your expenses down, Being a minimalist is great. A lot of people switch to this like minimalist lifestyle to try to achieve FIRE. How minimal you go is totally up to you. What are you comfortable with? As long as you can get to a 50% savings rate, I would have to tell you that you're on the right track. But you've got to get to that first. The goal is 50% and then try to grow that. But this is the number one way for you to retire early. You've got to get to a 50% savings rate. Expensive cars, expensive vacations, frequent eating out, high spending on hobbies, all of those cut into how much you can save. Does that mean you can never do those things? Absolutely not. Just do them, as you can. Build money into your budget to afford those things. Do it in moderation. Don't do it all the time. Don't always eat out. Don't always go on nice vacations, right? That's just something you can do. But remember, the only thing that matters with FIRE and making this realistic is your savings rate. Get your savings rate high and you will achieve financial independence sooner, meaning you can retire early. So they're two separate things. Let's keep them separate. Anyways, I hope that this episode really opened your eyes to retirement, right? This is not saying that you have to retire early, right? I provide you an insight just saying you don't have to hit 59 and a half to say you're retired. That's what FIRE does. It says, I don't have to hit 59 and a half to retire. The 59 and a half age is just this number that's out there because that's when you can start drawing from your retirement accounts. So people look at that as a retirement age, 60, right? But you don't have to draw on Social Security to retire. That doesn't mean you're retired. You can retire way before that as possible. I just showed you. But are you willing to increase your savings rate to get there? If the answer is no, that's totally fine. It's really fine. You can still live a happy life in retirement. I don't want you to think that if you don't do FIRE, you're wrong. I also don't want you to think that if this is something that you're like, well, I want to retire early and I look like a failure if I don't do this. Like no, that's not true. As long as you're saving for retirement, you will prosper. I'm telling you, if you are saving for retirement, you will prosper. If you love your job and you truly wouldn't want to do anything else with your time, keep at it. You're going to retire happy. Knowing that you did what made you happy, which was that job that you enjoy going to every day. FIRE is just a great movement because it allows people to have time back to them to do whatever their why is, whatever that why is. But the other great part about FIRE is that it does create good money habits for the most part. Some articles that you're going to read outside of this episode are going to talk about use credit cards for points and all that. I think that totally overcomplicates it. Just keep it simple. Stick to the increase your savings rate, cut your expenses, and you will retire early. Remember that. Next week, I want to discuss another method that's out there that can help in your FIRE movement, right? This is just one way to retire early. I want to show you another method or another avenue that you can use to help your retirement early. So make sure you come back next week to listen to that episode because there is something else you can do with your retirement accounts as well. So come back and learn more then. Now, if you are ready to take control of your finances, look no further than The Financial Mirror, where we will go over your financial plan, see where you're at, see where I can potentially help, and really try to help get you to where you want to be financially. Head on over to thefinancialmirror.org and hit book now in the middle of the screen. You'll go through, you'll set up a free consultation, totally free. We'll sit down for about 30 minutes and really figure out if a financial coach is something that can help you achieve your goals. I continue to help clients every single day achieve that financial goal, whatever that goal is for them. So head over to thefinancialmirror.org and book now to get your free consultation. If you do want to give a little extra dose of support to the stream, head over to thefinancialmirror.org/shop and pick you up some awesome Financial Mirror gear. I think that the store continues to grow, the products continue to get better, and I'm maybe just a little biased, but all in all, it's a great store with great products. That all the shirts are very comfortable. Let me tell you, very, very comfortable. So head on over and pick up your Financial Mirror gear if you want to show some extra support to the stream. I truly appreciate everyone tuning in today. Hopefully you got a ton of good information from this FIRE movement episode. And I hope that you'll share this with more and more people. No matter if it's coworkers, your friends, your family, don't forget to share this. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. If you are on a podcast, thank you for listening. Leave that 5-star review on Apple and Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. The written comments are truly the best thing for this stream on Apple. Till next week, continue improving the one thing that you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.